Good afternoon, my beautiful lovelies. I am Dr. Lori Monaco, the Badass Buddha, welcoming you to a very special presentation of an introduction to warrior mindfulness. So I teach warrior mindfulness workshops, and they're usually at least 60 minutes long. Most of the time, they're 90 to 120 minutes long because we do all kinds of exercises and we do all types of mindfulness techniques within the workshop. But this is just an intro because you purchased my book or clicked on something for somewhere for a free gift. And this is my free gift to you to give you an introduction into what I do. One of the many wonderful things that I do, which is teach individuals how to be a warrior through warrior mindfulness. So let's get started, my beautiful lovelies. All right, so here we go. First, let me start with who I am and what's my story. In other words, why and how did I get into warrior mindfulness? So I am by trade a chiropractic physician. I have been a chiropractor since 1999, spring of 1999, so quite a while. I've also been a public speaker for just as long. It actually started while I was in chiropractic school and I had to do patient education training and I got hooked on it. So I've always been, or should I say, I've never had an issue speaking in front of people for all the years. My first public speaking gig was back in, I was in my sophomore year of high school and I loved it. So from that point going forward, I never had an issue with getting up in front of people and speaking. So I've been a speaker as long as I have been a chiropractor. I've also been a post-secondary teacher for just almost as long, almost 20 years. And I taught things like health and human sciences. So like things like anatomy and physiology, pathophysiology, neuroanatomy and physiology. I am a complete science nerd, geek, very proud of it. And I love teaching people about the human body and what we are capable of. Now, how did I become a coach? Because that is what I do. I am a teacher, speaker, coach. And how I got into coaching, I actually had never had any intention of coaching, although didn't realize that I had been doing that for years with my students. But I never thought I would do this as a full-time job. I do still see patients, but coaching has become my main thing, coaching and speaking, teaching workshops. Why? Well, I had lived with depression for the better part of 30 years, or for my entire life at that point. And in 2015, I suffered a massive depressive episode. And for those of you that have read my book, you'll understand where that came from. But I suffered this depressive episode and was in very dire straits for approximately 6 months. 3 months of it was the worst, or really about 4 months of it. But the last 2 was coming out of it and becoming a different individual. It was that depressive episode that set me on my path to become the person that I am today. And situations happen for a reason. And although that situation was horrible while I was going through it, it allowed me to be the person I am today and to be here right now with you. I found my passion and I found my purpose, and that is to help people step into their greatness, understand their personal power, and move away from things like depression, anxiety, and thoughts and behaviors and beliefs that hold them back from their greatness. I held myself back most of my entire life. It's not saying that I didn't do fun things and exciting things and adventurous things over the years. I did, but there was always something that got in the way of me doing it on a regular basis. I was very insecure, very easily manipulated. I did not like myself. I actually hated myself And I kept it pretty much under wraps for years, hiding behind a really nice smile and a lot of joking. I will say this, to this day, I still use my sense of humor. I use it as a true asset for me and my teaching and connecting with people. But in that path, in that time, should I say, I broke free from what was holding me back. I let it go. And the interesting thing is that I knew better. I had all this training. I had been around complementary and alternative medicine practitioners since I was about 19 years old. I've been around body workers, energetic workers, meditators, yogi masters, you name it, I was around it. I dove headfirst into personal development when I was 19 years old, walked over hot coals at Tony Robbins and all that beautiful stuff. And I knew better, but I couldn't get out of my own way because all that motivation was just so short-lived. Because until I got down to what was really holding me back, they were just words. They were words on a paper. So Maya Angelou has a quote, and her quote is this: do the best you can until you know better. And when you know better, do better. Well, I knew better, but I couldn't do better. And that ate at me for years. And when I hit my lowest point in my life, I had to face that. I had to ask myself the deep questions of why. Why couldn't I do better when I knew better? And it all came down to how I felt about myself, self-love, self-respect. So my darkest hours became the blessing in my life. And I made the changes that I needed to make. And I am the person I am today. And I'm very grateful for my experiences, all of them, all the failures, all the challenges, because I finally learned something. And I've taken a completely different path, and I've never been happier. And I have not had a depressive episode in all those years, nor have I dealt with depression in all those years on a daily basis, not even close. Did I have my lows sometimes here and there? Yes, but it was very short-lived, and I had the tools within me to be able to move past it. So this is where the mindfulness practice came into play. And that's what I started teaching a few years ago, until about a year ago, when I decided that I needed to kick it up a notch. I did start to see the old self reappear because I was meeting some challenges in my life and things that I didn't want to face and didn't want to look at, things that I thought I had overcome in the last few years of my transformation. But I didn't fully overcome those things. And so I had to face them again. And that is when Warrior Mindfulness came about. So let's get started on your journey, an introduction to Warrior Mindfulness. Okay, so what is mindfulness, right? We hear it all the time. It's become mainstream conversation these days. What is mindfulness? So mindfulness basically is a basic human ability to be fully present, aware of where we are and what we're doing, and not overly reactive or overwhelmed by what's going on around us. Or more simply put, blissfulkids.com, noticing what is happening right now. In other words, mindfulness practice is based on two main things: being present and being aware. Being present and being aware. That is the mainstay of mindfulness living and mindfulness practice. When people think of mindfulness practice, they often have an image of somebody like this individual in front of us sitting on a beach, just meditating, sitting on a mountain, sitting somewhere meditating. Meditation is a tool in mindful living, but the actual practice of mindfulness are a set of living rules. I don't like to use the word rules, but the dynamics of how we need to live our lives if we're going to live a mindful life. So being present and being aware are part of those dynamics. Mindfulness is lots of different things. And when you utilize each of these on a daily basis, you will be living a mindful life. So being present and being aware. We've said that already. Those are the two main things. Being present, meaning you're in your now. We often live our lives either in the past or in the future. We don't think about the now. Or if we are in that moment, we are doing something that's very distracting, like on our phone, scrolling down our social media feeds. That's being present, but that's still not being aware. It is very tunnel vision focused. So mindfulness is being present and being aware of your surroundings, being aware of self. It's also being connected, most importantly, being connected to yourself. But it's also being connected to your world. We are a part of this world, energetically speaking and physically speaking. But we can physically be in a room or physically be somewhere and not be connected to where we are. Mindfulness is being connected to where we are at that moment in time. Accepting, being accepting of self, where you are at this moment in time, whether good or bad, you accept yourself as is with no judgment, which is coming up. That's another mindfulness practice. But also accepting other people and situations. It's not saying that, oh, I accept it as it is and that stinks. It's just I'm accepting it, period, with no thought process about it, no judgment, no opinion on it. It is being open to any and all possibilities and is being non-attached. How could one be connected and then not attached at the same time? Non-attached means that you know that you are part of this world, but you do not attach to the things that do not serve you. In other words, if there's something negative going on in front of you, you do not connect to the negativity. You are a bystander or an observer of the negativity, but you are still allowing yourself to be a part of that world, knowing that you are in control of self. Non-attachment is different than detachment. So sometimes people use that word interchangeably, but they're actually quite different. Detaching means that you are completely pulling yourself away from emotion, from connecting to that particular thing, to block yourself and the emotions that you feel from it. And it is such a separation that it actually takes its toll mentally and emotionally on the individual. Non-attachment allows you to, let's say, not connect with certain people, like not like their personality, but still find gratitude for them and still project love towards them. Whereas detachment does not allow you to do that. Being accountable to yourself for your choices, for anything that you do. Accountable for yourself only, not other people, being accountable for you. Being at peace, being non-judgmental. What is in front of you is just what's in front of you. How are we to judge what someone says or does or what's going on with them when we don't truly know who they are and what's going on with them? We can only know ourselves truly. So being non-judgmental. Being grateful to your life for being here. Being curious, looking at the world as an incredible place full of wonder and magic and opportunities and potential. Being focused. Focus. Focus eludes us so much in our society today because we're so distracted with so many different things. But mindfulness allows you to be focused because you are present and aware at that moment in time, which means that you have to check yourself. You have to come within, and it brings your focus right in front of you. Being compassionate, loving unconditionally, and being empathetic, understanding what individuals are going through, understanding situations, and being kind. And even though love's not there, that's all part of those three. Being patient, knowing that the answers will come, knowing that if we take a moment, if we take a pause, we will be able to redirect, be able to ground ourselves better. Trusting in self, trusting in others, trusting in situations, trusting in the process that the universe knows, or God, whatever is in your practice, and trusting, having faith, being generous to yourself, generous to others, finding strength in your truth, even if it is not the story that you want to hear, even if you're not happy with your life, finding strength in your truth. Because remember, when you practice mindfulness, you understand that you have a choice. Your life is a choice. What you're doing in your life is a choice. So finding strength in your truth, so you know that if you are not happy, you can make changes. And then lastly, being responsive as opposed to being reactive, responding instead of reacting. I will say this, that a lot of mindfulness practice talks about controlling the way you react to something. The reacting is generally like a stress response. Reactions are needed and necessary for certain situations. Mindfulness practice or mindful living really teaches us to be responsive most of our time and reactive at the appropriate times, as opposed to the other way around, when we oftentimes live our lives being reactive and jumping at things and being angry and defensive. Responsiveness allows us to pull inward and think before we speak. Feel it before we do it. So those are the traits of mindful living. Mindfulness is a lifestyle. Okay, this isn't something that you just decide to do here and there. It is a lifestyle. It is a choice. It's a mindset that you have to change. It is for everyone. It's not just for certain individuals, and it can be fit into any lifestyle, even in our modern, crazy modern day world. And it is not just meditation, not woo-woo, and not just for people who live in an ashram. Mindfulness allows us to move from mindlessness. How often have we seen on the news or heard on our social media or watched videos of individuals mindlessly doing things, walking and texting, and then falling into, like this woman, falling into an open grate, falling into water, getting hit by cars. And that's just texting. Mindlessness is doing something on autopilot. So mindlessness is technically the opposite of mindfulness. Mindfulness, again, is being present, being aware. But I do want to say one thing about mindlessness. Mindlessness is not necessarily awful all the time. In fact, it is a necessary part of our lives. The autopilot is necessary sometimes. One could look at it this way. Mindlessness is minded mindlessness. If you have minded mindlessness, you can live in a mindful way. So some people might say, well, is it mindlessness? Mindfulness? Yes and no. Mindfulness, generally speaking, or oftentimes is consciousness. You're very conscious. Mindlessness is subconscious. You're running on a program. But sometimes it's good to be in that place. There's nothing wrong with it. So for instance, if you find something that you do that's very mindless, like let's say for me, it's cleaning my house, reorganizing things. Okay. Although there is some thought to it, it overall is very mindless. But what I like to do is I like to take time to do those things, not to mention the fact that I do like a clean house, but what it does is it allows me to let my mind wander into other places. So like if I'm writing something and I'm stuck and I'm sitting there and I can't think and I'm very present, but I can't find the words, I will oftentimes move to a mindless task. And the physical mindlessness allows my brain to create. And therefore, I oftentimes can dislodge the block that I have. And then those things will flow in and I will find the words and I will quickly write them down as I do that mindlessness task. We just have to be very aware, and that's where the mindfulness piece comes in. We have to be aware of our mindlessness. So mindfulness projects your focus inward, which then gets focused outward. Mindfulness is being in the moment. And see, this is why some people have challenges with mindfulness practice, because if we're going to say you have to be in the moment every moment of your day, that's hard. It's exhausting. But mindful living doesn't tell you to be in a mindful moment every moment of the day. It's telling you that throughout your day, you will be present and you will be aware. So it's not every moment of every day, it's throughout your day. Mindfulness practice are all those things that I had mentioned before. But to be mindful, we have to have certain techniques at our disposal to remind us to be present, to be aware. And these are just a few things that I recommend that you do. When I teach my mindfulness, my warrior mindfulness workshops, I have a whole huge list of things that you can do. And we get into great detail of them, we practice them. But for today's intro, I'm just going to give you a few things, and you can start on these today. Breathing, paying attention to your breath, taking time to breathe, closing your eyes and breathing in and breathing out is huge, and it makes a big difference. Practicing gratitude. Be grateful every day. You can write your gratitude list out. You could just think about it in your head. You can read it off your written list. Doesn't matter. Whenever you feel particularly low, especially, think about what you're grateful for. It is a energetic shifter. Smiling, just smiling can change you. Being happy, stretching. Our pets do it all the time. So why not follow suit? They look joyful when they do it, and it is joyful when we do it. Doing any type of exercise or movement, should I say, yoga also, meditation, visualization. If you're at work and you want to take 5 minutes, think about that vacation that you always wanted to go on and just see it and then feel it. Laughing, listening to music, dancing, singing like nobody's watching and nobody's listening, reflecting on your day, using mantras, just loving an animal, loving a person, just loving yourself, being silly, being spontaneous, and sleep, getting sleep, taking a nap, honoring yourself with that space to let yourself go into that sleep. You can do this. This is possible, and it can be done any time of day for at least 1 minute a day. So when people say, I don't have time to do these things, I don't have time to practice mindfulness. Remember, mindfulness is a lifestyle. It's not a give and take. These techniques are part of that mindful living. And when someone says, I don't have time, that means that they are saying, what they're actually saying is, I don't want to make the time. Always remember something, my beautiful lovelies. If it's important to us, we will find a way. And if not, we will find an excuse. 1 minute in our busy society, in our busy lives, you can steal 1 minute to do any of these. And I promise you, you'll find more than 1 minute. But what does it mean to be a warrior? Being a warrior means being unapologetically yourself. It means being you. It means that you choose to be a disruptor in your own life, to be unapologetically courageous, to be spiritually grounded, magically orgasmic, and to go beyond authenticity, to decide who you are authentically and then one up yourself. My nickname is the Badass Buddha for a reason. The reason I have that nickname, because I am the compassionate side. It describes the two sides of me now, not 7 years ago or prior to fall of 2015. Prior to that, that was not me. But since then, I have become the Badass Buddha. I have always been compassionate, so the Buddha piece has always been there. But I was never the badass in my life. I never stuck up for myself. I just let people manipulate me and walk all over me. And that, my friends, my beautiful lovelies, is no more. I chose me, and I became the Badass Buddha because I am 50% Namaste and 50% go F yourself. And I don't mean it to say to people that I am not a nice person. I mean that I will stand up for myself. And if someone is not happy with that, that's not my problem. I am me, I love me, and I am happy to be me. And I waited a long time to be that person. And that's what warrior mindfulness is. Warrior mindfulness is being you, taking that mindful living and kicking it up to like 10.0, going beyond what you believe, doing beyond that. It's not just sitting quietly and meditating in a corner as a technique of mindfulness practice or mindfulness living. It's deciding that I'm going to meditate this morning, and then in an hour, I'm going to be bungee jumping off a bridge, or I'm going to be jumping out of an airplane. And I'm not saying you need to do those things to be a warrior. You do what works for you. I personally have no desire to bungee jump off a bridge, but I would love to be jumping into the deep waters of the ocean with my scuba gear on, or go mountain biking. Those are the things that suit me. And I'm still learning me and adding more every single day. And that is warrior mindfulness. It's living your most spectacular life and being the brave warrior. This is your life, being the warrior in your own life. That's what warrior mindfulness is. It's self-love, self-respect, self-care, and authentic self. And it is transformation, which is lifelong. It is aligning with the 7 pillars of self. Typo, my apologies. 7 pillars of self. Your mental self, your emotional self, your physical self, your physiological self, your social self, your spiritual self, and your financial self. It's checking in with these things. And as you check in and as you raise your energy, you feel better about yourself. Your vibrational energy raises. And we go into this beautiful cone. And what we want to hit with this is we want to resonate basically higher than 200 and higher. That's what we want to resonate at. And mindfulness living lets you check in with yourself to make sure that you're there. And the tools are there, the techniques are there to help you increase your vibrational energy. Make time to check in with yourself. Don't say, I have to take the time. Make the time. Set your schedule. Include it in your schedule. Get up in the morning and do your techniques. Open that toolbox. Get there and help yourself. And set a time at night and maybe during the day. Make the time to check in with yourself to see how you're doing. Ask yourself the questions. How's my day going today? How am I feeling? Am I doing good today? Am I doing awesome today? Am I being a warrior today? And if it's a no, then you know that you can redirect and figure out what you want to do to change that, because it is within you, because you are a warrior. You are a mindful warrior. I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to introduce you to Warrior Mindfulness. Feel free to connect with me on social media, subscribe to my channels, follow me, reach out to me so that I can hear how you're doing and see if I can help you. If you feel stuck, if you feel like you want more from your life, if you want to be the warrior in your life, connect with me. We could set up an appointment, consultation. It's free. You could join my group coaching. You can join my VIP coaching. You can attend a workshop. But I just want to take this opportunity again and thank you so much. And from me, the Badass Buddha, remember, be you, be real, and be extraordinary. Namaste.